Now, how about his contribution to positive education? Let me have a cup of coffee and talk about Singapore. Allen makes important contribution to positive education. Positive education is not just teach people how to be happy, or teach people how to achieve their well-being. He's saying that your job as an educator is to encourage the child to develop what he already has. You know what I mean? Within child, the desire to be accepted, am I accepted? Or the desire to be successful in some area. So a child fails to develop this innate motivation because they were abused, they were ignored, they were punished. So a mother or a teacher, their main task is to encourage them to develop, to cultivate the motivation for growth, motivation for achievement, motivation for belonging, what's already inside them. But take a warning. We encourage them, but never pamper them. Every pampered child becomes a hated child. There's no greater evil than the pampering of children. So many parents made a mistake of overprotecting, pampering, praising, complimenting, showering all kinds of goodies on them to show them love. Actually, in so doing, you make your child the most hated person, most hated child, and an adult, and most hated adult. I'm counseling many couples because the man is the only child, grow up, always think about Jimmy, and no regard for other people. My happiness comes first. My need comes first. Wife's supposed to serve me. So create marital problem, and they drive their wives crazy. So what Anna wants is to encourage them to grow, to overcome difficulty, to learn in the process. Okay? So to learn from setback, to learn frustration. Okay? Individual psychological education focus on appealing to certain creative power to accomplish not intellectual growth, but character development. So all people within them have this creative power, so imagination, intuition, the creative power. But you can grow, you can have develop intellect, be a brilliant scientist, a brilliant artist. But that's only part of development. The other part is character development. Do you have a good character? Never marry with someone with bad character. Never work for any boss with bad character. A bad character is a jerk. Okay? Do not work for a jerk. So you can be happy, no happiness skill, achievement skill, but if you no character, then you're not a decent human being. Okay? So individual psychology, this is very interesting. Individual psychology is anything but an individualistic psychology. So individual psychology doesn't mean individualistic psychology. The term individual was chosen by Adler to emphasize the point that human being is an indivisible whole, embedded in an ever-expanding system: family, community, society, the planet Earth, and cosmos. So individual is a system within a larger system. An individual is embedded in a larger system. So education process of encouraging and engaging students to be oriented towards the world and other people. Now I see the similarity of Frankl and Adler. The focus should never be on yourself. You need to transcend yourself to focus on yourself. That is the path to misery. That selfishness is source of suffering. Instead, you focus on yourself, focus towards other people, towards the world, towards the nature, towards the Creator. This, by transcending yourself, you become a better person. Okay? Now, here's something here. The child learn, do I belong? Am I important? The child learned that in first in family, then in the school. Here's the behavior, but here is unconscious. They want to believe that they belong to somebody, belong to the family. That not only they belong, but they are important, that they have sense of significance. Okay? When the children feel safe and connected, they grow up normal kids. When they don't have a sense of belonging, and do not feel that they're important, then they will develop all kinds of unadaptive or unadaptive behavior in order to survive in an non-supportive environment. So that's why all kind of bad habits we carry on to adulthood were acquired in childhood because of non-supportive or adverse childhood experience. One problem kid is undue attention getting. Okay? A kid will misbehave, will act out. The main purpose is to get attention. Notice me. I'm here. Talk to me. Don't ignore me. Okay? So just punish a child right away is exactly the wrong thing to do, because they misbehave in order to get your attention. So you find a way to challenge them to do something useful and pay attention to them to do something useful, but don't pay attention to their misbehavior. You pay attention to misbehavior while reinforcing misbehavior. We should ignore behavior instead of switch your attention to good behavior. So this way they learn to channel their need for attention, for belonging, for significance, to doing something useful. Okay? Now, here's also an important thing. If a child does not feel belong, does not feel important, so they feel hurt. Hurting people hurt others. Hurting children also hurt others. So some of the bullies in school, some of the mean nasty children, nasty people, because they are venting their anger, their resentment on people not seem to be easy target. So bullying or abuse, those people often get wounded inside them, they're hurting inside them. So their aggression, their abusive behavior is a way for them to get even with society, get even with their parents, get even with their family, get even on a school shooting, same thing. Often this kind of horrible behavior is a reflection of a wounded child. So the last kind of misbehavior is that, oh, I'm useless, I'm a failure. So they give up on success. They give up on trying to achieve something in life. So as a way, they join a gang or taking on drugs, drifting along in life. Because they assume they are useless, nobody wants them. So they ever join a gang or join using drugs as an escape. So again, you can helping them, shift them to something that they have some talent in, help them to develop some useful, helpful behavior. Okay, very interesting. Akin to Adler, when I grew up, most people belong to 4 types. Okay, all the 4 types represent 4 different lifestyles based on their experience as a child. The dominant type, you can see this dominant type, people who try to control others, the psychopaths, the sociopaths, they are brutal, they control other people. Maybe when they were a child, they adopted the misguided goal of being bullied or venting their anger, venting their hurt by beating up other people. They grew up to be dominant type. Okay? The second type is getter type. Remember the attention getter as a child, misbehaved and to get attention. So they grow up, they will continue to please other people to get attention. They want to get as much as they can by depending on others, pleasing others. The avoiding type is people who give up trying. I'm failure, I'm useless. No pay attention. Remember the child who presumed inadequacy, give up. So they give up. When they grow up, they will try to avoid failure, avoid problem, avoid difficulty. So become very passive, the avoiding type. And the best type, if they grow up healthy, will be socially useful type. They are interested in people, helping people. That they develop their talent and potential in order to make useful contribution to society.